Imagine discovering that a small habit you repeat almost every week in your own kitchen, something you do because you're trying to be practical, trying to save money, trying not to waste perfectly good food, might be creating hidden stress inside your body without you realizing it. For many people, this habit feels completely harmless. It's normal, it's routine, it's something families have done for decades, reheating leftovers. Most of us do it automatically. Dinner from yesterday becomes lunch today. A tray of food from the weekend becomes quick meals throughout the week. It seems efficient and responsible. But what very few people are ever told is that some foods change in surprising ways when they are heated a second time. Not all foods, but a few very specific ones. And when those foods go through certain chemical changes during reheating, the compounds that form can place extra strain on the digestive system and organs that work quietly behind the scenes, including the pancreas. Today, I want to walk you through 5 foods that many people commonly reheat without thinking and explain what actually happens to them the second time heat touches them. Because once you understand what's happening inside those foods, you may decide to handle them a little differently in the future. Before we begin, there is something important to understand. Your pancreas is one of the hardest working organs in your body, and it works in almost complete silence. It helps regulate blood sugar, produces digestive enzymes, and supports many processes that keep your metabolism balanced. The remarkable thing is that it rarely sends obvious signals when it's under stress. Most people go through years of daily habits without realizing that certain choices may be creating unnecessary pressure on this small but essential organ. That's why awareness matters. At least 3 of the foods we're about to discuss are probably sitting in refrigerators all over the world right now, waiting to be reheated later tonight. And the first one might surprise you more than any of the others, because it's something people everywhere love: leftover fried food. Think about it for a moment. Crispy fries from last night's dinner, a few pieces of fried chicken wrapped in foil, maybe a couple of spring rolls or fried snacks you saved because throwing them away felt wasteful. The next day, most people do the same thing. They warm them up, sometimes in the microwave, sometimes in a pan with a little fresh oil to bring back the crispiness. And it's at that exact moment, when hot oil meets that food for the second time, that a chemical process begins that many people never hear about. Many cooking oils commonly used in kitchens, sunflower oil, corn oil, soybean oil, are very sensitive to repeated heating. When these oils are exposed to high temperatures again and again, they begin to break down through a process called oxidation. During this process, the oil molecules change structure and can form compounds known as aldehydes. Now, you don't need to memorize that word. What matters is understanding that these compounds can increase oxidative stress in the body. Oxidative stress is essentially a situation where unstable molecules interact with cells and create extra wear on biological systems. Your body works hard to neutralize these molecules every day. But when foods containing oxidized oils are eaten frequently, the body has to work even harder to keep everything balanced. Over time, this can lead to increased inflammatory signals inside the body, including within the digestive organs that process those foods. And the pancreas is deeply involved in that process. Every meal you eat requires enzymes produced by the pancreas to break down nutrients properly. When meals contain compounds that increase oxidative stress, the body activates defense mechanisms to manage them. If that happens occasionally, the body handles it well. But when it happens repeatedly, several times every week, the system may never fully return to its normal baseline before the next exposure arrives. Imagine trying to perform careful work in a room filled with constant background noise. Eventually, concentration becomes harder, And this is why many nutrition experts recommend avoiding reheating fried foods in oil. Instead, if you want to bring back texture, dry heat methods are much gentler. An oven or an air fryer can restore crispiness without introducing another round of heated oil. Even better, when possible, enjoy fried foods fresh rather than reheated. That small adjustment alone can significantly reduce the amount of oxidized oil compounds entering the body. Now, here's the surprising part. The next food on this list is something that most health experts actually encourage people to eat more of. It appears on nearly every list of healthy foods. It's packed with nutrients. And yet, when it is reheated the wrong way, it can undergo chemical changes that many people never expect. Let's talk about leafy greens. Picture this. You prepare a pan of sautéed spinach for dinner, maybe with garlic and olive oil. It smells wonderful. It looks vibrant and healthy. You feel good knowing you're eating something nutritious. There are leftovers, so you place them in a container and put them in the refrigerator. The next day at lunch, you heat them in the microwave for a minute or two. Everything seems exactly the same. The color is similar, the taste is familiar, nothing appears unusual, but something subtle has happened during that reheating process. Leafy vegetables such as spinach, kale, and chard naturally contain compounds called nitrates. In fresh vegetables, these compounds are completely normal and harmless. However, after cooking and storage, natural bacteria can slowly convert some of those nitrates into compounds called nitrites. When the vegetables are heated again, those nitrites can participate in chemical reactions that form compounds known as nitrosamines. Researchers have studied nitrosamines for many years because of their potential effects on cellular DNA when exposure becomes frequent. This doesn't mean eating spinach is dangerous. Far from it. Leafy greens are still among the healthiest foods you can eat. The key point is simply how they are handled after cooking. One simple solution is to enjoy cooked greens cold the next day. Cold spinach added to a salad, grain bowl, or wrap keeps all the nutrients intact without triggering additional heat-related reactions. Another approach is to cook only the portion you plan to eat right away, rather than preparing large batches for repeated reheating. Small adjustments like this allow you to keep all the benefits of leafy vegetables while avoiding unnecessary chemical changes. And the third food on our list might be the most unexpected of all, because it looks completely harmless: plain white rice. Now, let's talk about a food that appears in kitchens across the entire world: rice. It's simple, affordable, and incredibly convenient to cook in large batches. Many people prepare a pot of rice at the beginning of the week and then reheat small portions each day. It feels practical. It saves time, and in most households, it's completely normal. But there is something about cooked rice that very few people are ever told. Inside raw rice grains, there are naturally occurring bacterial spores. These spores belong to a microorganism called Bacillus cereus. You don't need to remember the name. What matters is how it behaves. Cooking rice destroys most active bacteria, but spores are different. They are extremely durable survival structures that can withstand high temperatures. When rice finishes cooking and begins to cool down, those spores can slowly become active again if conditions are right. And the temperature range that encourages this activity happens to be exactly the temperature of rice sitting at room temperature after cooking. If cooked rice stays at room temperature for too long, these microorganisms can begin multiplying and producing toxins. Here is the important detail. When rice is reheated later, the heat may destroy the bacteria themselves, but some of the toxins they produced earlier can remain. This doesn't always cause dramatic symptoms. In many cases, the exposure may be mild and go completely unnoticed. But repeated exposure to these toxins may increase irritation inside the digestive system. And when the digestive system experiences ongoing irritation, inflammatory signals can spread through connected biological pathways, including those that involve the pancreas. Scientists often talk about what's known as the gut pancreas connection. These two systems communicate constantly through blood circulation, immune signals, and digestive enzyme regulation. When the gut environment is balanced, the pancreas works smoothly. When the gut experiences repeated irritation, the pancreas may also feel that stress. That's why food safety experts recommend a very simple rule when handling rice. After cooking, allow it to cool quickly. But to cool, instead of leaving a deep pot on the counter, spread the rice into a shallow container. This increases surface area and helps it cool faster. Once cooled, place it in the refrigerator within about an hour, then try to eat it within the next day. When reheating, make sure the rice becomes fully hot throughout, rather than only warm on the surface. These small steps dramatically reduce the chance of bacterial activity developing inside the food. Now let's move to the fourth food on our list. And this one is something nearly every family eats multiple times every week: chicken. Leftover chicken is incredibly common. Maybe it's roasted chicken from dinner or grilled chicken prepared for meal prep. The next day, many people place a piece of chicken on a plate and warm it in the microwave for a minute or two. They touch the outside, feel that it's hot, and assume the entire piece is heated evenly. But microwaves heat food in a very different way than ovens do. Instead of surrounding the food with hot air, microwaves excite water molecules inside the food to generate heat. And because different parts of a piece of chicken contain different amounts of water, fat, and protein density, the heat distribution can become uneven. Some areas may become extremely hot. Other areas, only centimeters away, may remain much cooler. These cooler zones are sometimes called cold spots. From the outside, the food looks perfectly safe, but inside, parts of the chicken may not have reached temperatures that eliminate bacteria. Now, this doesn't mean microwaves are unsafe. They simply require careful use. The challenge is that poultry can occasionally contain bacteria such as salmonella before cooking. Proper cooking eliminates them. However, after cooking, food can sometimes become recontaminated from surfaces, utensils, or hands. If reheating is uneven, those bacteria may survive in cold spots. Again, this doesn't always cause immediate illness. Sometimes the body handles it without obvious symptoms, but repeated mild exposures can create ongoing irritation in the digestive system. And once again, the pancreas becomes involved because it must respond to inflammatory signals coming from the gut. The good news is that avoiding this issue is very simple. Instead of reheating whole pieces of chicken in the microwave, cut the meat into smaller pieces so heat distributes evenly. Use medium power rather than maximum power. Pause halfway through heating and stir or rearrange the pieces. Then allow the food to rest for a minute or two after heating so the heat spreads evenly. Another excellent option is reheating chicken in the oven. Warm circulating air heats the entire piece uniformly and eliminates cold spots. And of course, many dishes work perfectly well with cold chicken too, sliced over salads, added to wraps, or mixed into grain bowls. Now we arrive at the fifth and final food on our list. And this one is fascinating because two completely different processes occur when it is cooked, cooled, and reheated. Potatoes. Think about roasted potatoes from dinner the night before: golden on the outside, soft inside. The next day, many people heat them again in a pan with oil or place them in the microwave. But potatoes undergo interesting changes when they cool. After cooking, some of the starch inside the potato transforms into something called resistant starch. Resistant starch behaves very differently in the body compared to regular starch. It digests more slowly, supports beneficial gut bacteria, and helps stabilize blood sugar responses. In other words, cooled potatoes can actually become metabolically gentler than freshly cooked ones. But when those potatoes are reheated at high temperatures, especially in oil, much of that resistant starch converts back into rapidly digested starch. Instead of a gradual energy release, the body receives a quicker glucose surge. And when blood sugar rises quickly, the pancreas must respond by releasing insulin to restore balance. Occasionally, this response is completely normal, but if this cycle happens frequently over many years, the insulin producing beta cells of the pancreas may experience repeated periods of intense activity. Some researchers believe that supporting stable blood sugar patterns over time may help maintain healthier pancreatic function. There is also another factor with high temperature reheating of starchy foods. When starchy foods such as potatoes are exposed to very high heat, compounds called acrylamides can form as part of the browning reaction. This reaction creates the crisp, golden texture many people love. But studies have examined acrylamides because of their potential biological effects when exposure becomes frequent. This doesn't mean you should never enjoy roasted potatoes. It simply suggests that repeatedly frying or heavily reheating them may not be the best approach. A surprisingly simple alternative is enjoying cooked potatoes cold. Cold potato salad with olive oil, herbs, and vinegar keeps the beneficial resistant starch intact and avoids additional high temperature reactions. If you prefer them warm, gently warming them with low heat rather than frying them again is a much milder option. So now we've talked about all five foods: fried leftovers, leafy greens, rice, chicken, potatoes, and you might be wondering something important right now. Does this mean you should stop eating these foods? Not at all. Every single food we discuss today can absolutely be part of a healthy lifestyle. The key point is not the food itself. The key point is how it's handled after cooking. Small changes in the way leftovers are stored and reheated can make a surprisingly large difference in how your body experiences those meals. Because the reality is this: your body is constantly adapting. Every single day, your digestive system, your liver, your pancreas, and your immune system work together to process everything you eat. Most of the time, they do this incredibly well, but they perform best when the foods entering the system remain as close as possible to their natural state. When foods are repeatedly heated, oxidized, or exposed to prolonged storage conditions that encourage bacterial activity, the body may have to work harder to restore balance. And the pancreas, in particular, plays a central role in that balancing act. It helps regulate blood sugar. It releases enzymes that break down fats, carbohydrates, and proteins. It coordinates signals between digestion and metabolism, and it does all of this quietly without asking for attention. Most people never think about their pancreas. In fact, many people don't even know where it is located inside the body. But this small organ performs thousands of chemical tasks every day that keep the digestive system running smoothly. And the remarkable thing is that the pancreas is incredibly resilient. The human body has a remarkable ability to repair and restore balance when given the right conditions. Cells constantly renew themselves. Inflammation can calm down. Metabolic systems can regain stability. That means small improvements in daily habits can begin supporting the body almost immediately. You don't have to change everything overnight. In fact, the most sustainable improvements usually come from very simple adjustments. For example, if you enjoy fried foods occasionally, try to eat them fresh instead of reheating them in oil. If you cook leafy greens, consider preparing smaller portions so they don't require multiple reheating cycles. When making rice, cool it quickly and store it properly so bacterial growth never gets the opportunity to begin. When reheating chicken, make sure the heat reaches every part evenly. And when it comes to potatoes, consider enjoying them cold or gently warmed instead of heavily reheated. None of these changes are extreme. They are small shifts in routine, but routines repeated every week become habits, and habits practiced over years shape how the body functions in the long run. Think about it this way: your kitchen is one of the most powerful places in your entire home. It's where choices are made every day that influence how your body feels, how your energy flows, and how well your organs perform their work. And the good news is that you don't need complicated diets or expensive products to support your body. Often, it's simply about understanding what happens to food during preparation and storage. Knowledge turns ordinary habits into intentional ones. When you know how certain foods behave after cooking, you gain the ability to make small adjustments that support your health without sacrificing convenience. And that's really the goal here: not fear, not restriction, just awareness. Because awareness allows you to take care of your body in ways that feel natural and sustainable. Tonight, when you open your refrigerator, you may see leftovers differently. You might think about how they were stored, how long they've been there, and what the best way is to enjoy them. Sometimes the best option will be reheating carefully. Sometimes it will be enjoying the food cold. And sometimes it will simply be preparing smaller portions so leftovers aren't necessary at all. Every one of those choices supports the quiet systems inside your body that work tirelessly for you every single day. Your digestive organs have been working since the day you were born. They have processed thousands of meals. They have supported your energy, your strength, and your daily life without ever asking for recognition. The least we can do is support them with thoughtful habits. So the next time you cook, remember these 5 foods, not as something to fear, but as a reminder that how food is handled can be just as important as what food we eat. Small awareness leads to better choices. Better choices repeated consistently lead to better long term outcomes. And that's how real health improvements usually happen: quietly, gradually, through everyday decisions. If this video gave you a new perspective today, take a moment to think of someone close to you who spends time in the kitchen every week: a friend, a family member, a partner, someone who might appreciate learning these small but important details. Share this video with them so they can understand these habits too. Sometimes a simple piece of information can change the way we approach something we've done the same way for years. And those small changes can support our bodies in ways we never expected. Take care of yourself. Pay attention to the small habits that shape your daily routine. And I'll see you in the next video.